Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Marauders of the Resurgent capture the keep of Cutlass Keys. KOTT news crews were reporting from inside the keep when it fell and caught up with the victors after the fight. I couldn't help but notice that you took 3 points in about 10 minutes and then inside the gates for 10 minutes more. One big push got pushed back and then the real big push came in and that was the end of the fight. Congratulations on your victory out there tonight. How do you feel it went?
I feel like a lot of us are kind of getting over the adrenaline rush. It's always nice to have a nice swing going through. They put up a really good fight in the fort, honestly. Kept us sweating up until the fort cap. Yeah, I had a good time, honestly. I'm hoping other people did.
Excellent. Well, now that you have gained control of the secondary oil reserves of the island, what are your intentions for the hamlet of, Cutlass Keys?
You'd have to ask the guy there.
The guy there, that gentleman up there in the brown outfit?
Yeah.
Congratulations on your victory. How do you feel it went out there tonight?
I think it went pretty good. We've been going on it. I think we've been on the server for like a month now or so, like a little under. It was a good war.
Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, now that you've captured the secondary oil reserves of the island and are in control of the hamlet here in Cutlass Keys, what are your intentions for the citizens?
You know, I think we're just going to reign with an iron fist.
KOTT News can now report that the tax rates for Cutlass Keys have been reduced considerably since the resurgent leadership change. KOTT News have also been informed there will be a concert Tuesday night in Cutlass Keys at 6 p.m. server to celebrate the win. Turning to the weather, and it's looking like a long hot day of sunshine all day long again until late evening cold fronts in the north will cause a 20% chance of high tax invasion. 2 more submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard? Up first, the syndicate forces of pirate hooligans attack the Marauders of Blushing and Bricked for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Pirate hooligans burst onto the scene by declaring a right of faction first purchase and look to eliminate the tyrannical tax rates of the region. For Blushing and Bricked, their last outing may have sparked a fire under them, but dividing their forces may have left them unmotivated as well. Then, the Covenant forces of Barely War Ready assail the Syndicate forces of Barely A Company for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. The newcomers of Barely War Ready make themselves ready for bear. Will this bear technique be enough to win out on the beach? The Spice Lords counter with their own company of bears, and not just the B Company. No, the A Company. So if you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Barely A Company. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as both newcomers get turned away by both great houses. KOTT news crews were on the scene in First Light, but no one was available for comment. Recent protests by the citizenry have encouraged the Marauders of each region to reconsider their taxation strategy for civic projects. Speaking of civic projects, the Spice Lords of Barely A Company were struck by an unexpected invasion brought on by a sudden tsunami last night during their war. And while refining services remain largely untouched, crafting stations were decimated. Hamlet leadership have initiated an emergency assessment to fund repairs. Citizens seeking to volunteer efforts to improve the infrastructure should look for assigned tasks on the mission board. Tonight's weather should be less impactful with another beautiful morning all day long leading into additional post-tsunami afterwaves of invasions along the coastal edges. 4 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Pirate Hooligans assail the Covenant forces of Hammer for control of the always contested Restless Shore. Pirate Hooligans make their second attempt to secure land on the island after failing against Blushing and Bricked last night in Brightwood. Hammer forces managed to field a reliable group of defenders for the last open tryouts. Have they expanded their ranks to accommodate 2 regions? Then, the Syndicate forces of Here Be Mutineers attack the Covenant forces of Hammer for control of the bamboo forest preserves and medicinal hot springs of the resort destination, Ebonscale. Here Be Mutineers return here after their loss here 3 days ago. After hearing rumors of unpaid mercenaries, they're willing to try again. Hammer leadership have gone on record as willing to compensate community members who participate in their wars, but after a week of recruiting, do they need to? Meanwhile, the Covenant forces of Ancient Templar challenge the Marauders of Snake for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. Ancient Templar step into the ring confident in their chances. After going the distance with the champs 4 days ago, they feel they can make it happen this time. The forces of Snake go for their 4th defense of the fort as they approach 3rd place on the all-time Neverfall list, currently held by the Reckoning at 5. In the nightcap, the Syndicate forces of Battlesnakes mug the Marauders of Dropouts in their attempt to steal the financial capital of Windsward. Battlesnakes are fresh off their victory 2 days ago in Reekwater, and now they're coming to Windsward, and they're bringing their battle rattles. Dropouts have held the financial capital for nearly 2 months now, content in controlling the central corridor and accepting of all challengers. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as all 4 great houses hold the line against their would-be antagonists. Quickly to the weather, and it's going to be a beautiful morning all day long again, well into evening, until a 10% chance of invasion in Brightwood. Only 1 simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Covenant forces of Gilded Outlaws assault the Marauders of Hooded Outcasts for control of the northernmost region of Morningdale. The forces of Gilded Outlaws return to claim their right to rematch after losing the hamlet to Hooded Outcasts 2 weeks ago. Hooded Outcast forces have put on their all-weather gear and slogged down to the keep, prepared to defend their forward position near the Death Wall. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Hooded Outcasts maintain Marauder management of Morningdale. Turning to the weather, and after another beautiful morning all day long, well into late afternoon, early evening northern cold fronts will cause a 40% chance of invasion, as well as southern swells after the wars along the south. 3 roster submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of Anvil contest the Covenant forces of Little Hammer for control of the crown of the Western Monarch's Bluff. Newcomer Anvil make their first appearance in the official record books by attempting to secure the resource-rich region. Little Hammer forces have allied themselves with the Zealots to the north in Ebonscale and have dug in their foothold to prepare for the fight. Then, the Syndicate forces of Searing Void assault the Marauders of the Resurgent for control of the secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. Searing Void forces have been systematically prodding at the defenses around the island, and tonight they strike in the Keys. Despite declaring their intentions to reign with an iron fist, Resurgent forces have maintained low taxes and mission boards, but have they reclassified the crocodiles? In the nightcap, the Covenant forces of No Cap assail the Syndicate forces of Battlesnakes for control of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. Newcomers No Cap mark their first target in the swamps. It is unknown if they want the fishing, the Lazarus, or the tree houses. For the forces of Battlesnakes, their first defense of the hamlet since acquiring it earlier this week. But if you listen closely, you can already hear the battle rattles. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Covenant forces of No Cap secure the master fishing port town of Reekwater. And the forces of Searing Void finally break through and claim their first hamlet in Cutlass Keys, both companies earning the title of Great House. KOTT news crews were on the scene in Cutlass Keys as the celebration began, and we caught up with Searing Void leadership during the excitement. Well, look at everybody celebrating. Congratulations. Never doubted for a second, did you? Here we were in the final moments, and finally you take it. Let me get my microphone out of your face. Sorry about that, Eric. There you go. How do you feel it went out there tonight?
It was a fun war. It was really close. Came down to the last minutes. Everybody had fun. I appreciate everybody that showed up.
Oh, excellent. And now that you're in control of Cutlass Keys, what are your intentions for the hamlet?
I was thinking of a 50v50 blunderbuss war, first of all, as long as my consoles give me the approval on that. And mainly I want to give a shout out to all the people that have helped Searing become great. Bellergy RC, Dwig, Mumbat Slayer, Kershi, Tracina, Dayon, Yosnir, KC6, Coco Butters, Dr. Resilient, J Noodle, Koifish, Uwe. Shout out to all of you. I know you're not playing, but this wins for you.
Searing Void weren't the only ones celebrating last night, as No Cap forces gathered around City Hall after their victory as well. We caught up with company leaders to discuss their victory and their intentions for the hamlet. Congratulations on your victory tonight. I understand you were inside the fort within 10 minutes and then fought on the flag for the next 30 till you decided to take it. Congratulations. How do you think it went out there?
Yeah, it was a pretty fun war. We were just out there having a good time, you know, trying to get our name out there, etc. Hit up our allies back from El Dorado, and just wanted to have some fun.
Well, excellent. I hope you did have fun. Tell us, what type of fun are you planning for the hamlet now that you've taken control?
Well, our company is ran as a democracy. We like it to be run by the people. So, Supreme Overlord here or whatnot.
Not everyone was happy after the wars last night. KOTT News met up with a frustrated Battlesnake after their loss.
Man, the only thing I have to say is I'm angry at Amazon Game Services right now. I got stuck on a horn when I went to blow it, and we lost so we didn't have anyone blowing horns for the last.
Technical difficulties giving you last moment disadvantages. I am sorry about that.
Very, very unfortunate. I'm happy we held it. We held it quite long for fighting. I want to say it was somewhere between 35 and 40 Dawn Guard. So I'm proud of that personally.
There was more than war going on last night in Eternum, as local superhero Super Jack informed us in Monarch's Bluff.
Yeah, the people of Monarch's Bluff actually called for my services, and I jumped right away at the opportunity to come over and help the sick children in the hospitals.
Oh, it's wonderful that you're helping the children here. You know, there aren't very many out on the streets. I'm surprised that any even exist here on the island. But how can people help you if they want to help the children?
In order to help the Children's Hospital here in Monarch's Bluff, we would really implore you to come over and do as much trading as well as much deals as humanly possible to raise 1.5 million gold to get all the sick children out and about this wonderful world. Please, the number is listed below on the screen. Call now.
No submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by Peace, so everyone be excellent to each other tonight. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. After a night of peace, 4 submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Covenant forces of Hammer assault the Marauders of Blushing and Bricked for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. The Great House of Hammer has been slowly growing its empire around the island, but this is their first attempt to take land in the Central Corridor. The forces of Blushing and Bricked have been unavailable for comment since last week's incident regarding the invasion and regional taxes, but they've never been unavailable for a fight. Then, the Covenant forces of No Cap assail the Syndicate forces of Hooded X-Outcast for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. The forces of No Cap make their first assault attempt since becoming a great house just 2 nights ago. Are they ambitious, or were they planning ahead? The forces of Hooded X-Outcasts represent the longest tenured great house on the island. It's going to take a lot to dethrone the reigning Spice Lords. Meanwhile, the Syndicate forces of Here Be Monsters attack the Covenant forces of Hammer for control of the bamboo forest preserves and medicinal hot springs of Ebonscale. Here Be Monsters, not to be confused with Here Be Mutineers, make their first assault as Syndicate members turning against the Spark. The forces of Hammer will have to contend with the mental fatigue of running 2 fights in 1 night on 2 different fields in 2 different directions. In the nightcap, binge-watching anime fanatics of the Syndicate, We Bang Anime, Snakes, mug the Marauders of Dropouts in their attempt to steal the financial capital of Windsward. During the evening of peace, KOTT news crews banged out the entire series of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash in 1 sitting. My adopted rescue Snowmorph was in their hide, though. I don't know if the dropouts of the Marauders watch anime, but they probably bang out entire seasons in 1 sitting too. A lot of Venn diagram overlap of anime in this community, so I'll ask them tonight if they win. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as each great house hold their lines and retain rulership of their respective regions. KOTT news crews caught up with several winners last night, starting in First Light. Congratulations on your hold tonight. Did you feel you had any difficulties out there with the forces of No Cap?
Oh, not at all. Longest held territory on Camelot. We knew we were going to win. Never a doubt in my mind.
Knew it all along. That's what I like to hear. Is there anybody out there you'd like to commend today?
Yeah, I want to commend DG for showing up. Really proud of them to sign up. They're great people, great people.
KOTT news crews were also able to get reactions from citizens in Ebonscale as well.
It was great. I had the lovely opportunity to mercenary for them, and all around, it was a great experience.
Is there anyone in particular whose efforts you'd like to highlight?
Vitram. He was one of our essential healers in the squad. He really held it down. He's an absolute deadeye with the cannons. He's absolute blapping people.
During the excitement in Ebonscale, we caught up with Hammer leadership and asked them about the fight.
Alright, well, it started slow. We started real slow, and that's alright. That's okay, because sometimes in life, John, you're gonna start slow. That's okay. We told ourselves, hey, we're gonna start slow, but we're gonna keep going fast. We're gonna start slow, but we're always gonna finish fast. No matter what the score was, we're gonna finish hard, we're gonna finish fast. Yeah, they had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. They had us. We weren't defeated, but they had us. It took guts. It took an attitude. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to be successful is an attitude. And that's what Nicholas told us. He said, hey, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. You're going to go out there. You're going to battle. You're going to fight. You're going to do it for one another. Do it for each other. You're going to do it for yourself. You're going to do it for us. And you're going to go out with this win. And we believe that. We truly did, John. And it's an awesome feeling.
Recapping last night's story, KOTT news crews were even able to ask Dropouts leadership if they watched anime.
Some do. I don't, but we have some anime enjoyers in the company.
Turning to the weather, and is going to be a magnificent day all day long, well into evening, with no signs of invasion on the old Doppler radar. 5 rosters submitted for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. First up, the Syndicate forces of Here Be Mutineers assail the Covenant forces of Hammer for control of the uncontrollable Restless Shore. The Mutineers start the first of a doubleheader off tonight by attempting to secure the most contested region in all of Eternum. The forces of Hammer had 2 combat resolutions last night, but should have had time to soak in the springs to prepare for tonight. Then, the forces of Here Be Mutineers assault the Covenant forces of No Cap for ownership of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. Going on short rest, the Mutineers play their second tonight, hoping to secure the forward staging hamlet for the Lazarus expedition. For No Cap, their first defense of the hamlet since conquering it for themselves 3 days ago, and they don't seem tired after last night's efforts in First Light. Afterwards, the Syndicate forces of Purplectuals attack the Marauders of Small Gloves for control of the northernmost region of Morningdale. Purplectuals march up to the northern death wall and attempt to set up a forward observation post, but the forces of Small Glove did not issue a permit for that structure, so they've marched out to the site to turn them away. Meanwhile, the Covenant forces of Lost Templar challenge the Marauders of Snake for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. Lost Templar return to try again, stepping into the ring after a new training montage. But have they trained hard enough? With a win tonight, the forces of Snake will begin their Neverfall streak in earnest, moving into a tie for third place with the Reckoning at 5. In the nightcap, the Marauders of Nameless assault the Covenant forces of Lost Templar for control of the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. Nameless forces mix things up by slogging into the fen in their attempt to ransack the abundant oil supplies. Lost Templar continue to stand their ground as well as anyone can on the peat moss fields of the fen, and intend to keep standing here at night's end. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.